Welcome to another video, and today we will be talking about the Mr. Freeze that was announced a few days ago from Hot Toys, and it was a very pleasant surprise. I did not expect Mr. Freeze, and when I saw the notification of the post, then my eyes lit up, and it took me by surprise. And I actually went to see this in person a couple of days ago, and I was not going to buy anything from the Batman and Robin line. I told myself that when the Batman and Robin was teased late last year, around September at Wonderfest. And I'm a big collector of DC, specifically Batman, but Batman and Robin um, was my least desirable line to collect, even though I sort of grew up watching all of those movies. Um, so, out of the three figures that they've announced in this line, I have to say that me personally, Mr. Freeze is the best one out of them all. And so we're going to be taking a look through these photos. I'm going to be sharing my opinions, and this is the Hong Kong eShop page, and it's 2,430 Hong Kong dollars. That is somewhere around, in US pricing, that's about 311. There is a standard edition where it does not come with these wings and the diorama base. This comes out in Q2 of next year. And I think these photos are done very well. When I saw this base, I thought it looked okay, but I immediately recognized that this is just one of those standard bases that you get with most of their figures. The only thing that's unique is the railing and this extra piece of ice. But as it was brought to my attention that this is actually reused from the Batman Arkham XE suit, which to me is a bit disappointing. Um, I would prefer to have unique bases for all of the figures, ideally if it's a deluxe. But this is not exactly unique in my opinion. It's just a slightly better than your normal regular base. um, I really like the armor, reflective, the metallic look. I think the gun looks really cool, and this is just really appealing to have this light up effect. And this whole suit is powered by USB. I think the Arnie look is astounding. It probably isn't the exact sculpt as the T800 sculpt that they've announced recently, but it looks like a very slight modification. Something about, I think, the eyes and mouth look slightly different. This suit, I think, is pretty accurate. I think this is movie accurate. The abdomen has been shown if you look at the photos. And I don't think that this needs to be lit up all the time. Um, if you have it lit up all the time, then it may burn out the LEDs eventually. So you'll have to preserve the LEDs. You'll have to light it up, turn on the lights every so often just to admire the lit up effects. And I really like the goggles, and the helmet is detachable. You only get one sculpt with it. It would have been nice if they gave you an extra sculpt with a less serious expression. I think that would have been a bit more better value for your money. and it's really cool that you can take off the helmets like that. The paintwork is done really well. I've seen this in person, like I said, and there is a slight sparkle to his skin, like it was in the movie. There's another look at the base. I mean, it's not bad. I would just prefer to have something that we have never seen before. The gauntlets look really cool. So over the past few days, here's a look at the whole everything that's included first. So over the past few days, this figure reignited my consideration to get this figure. I was thinking only to get this figure, as I think this could stand on its own. You don't need something to be a companion piece to it. But then I thought about, if I get this, I would feel more inclined to get the Batman. And if I get the Batman, then I may get the Robin. But I don't really want the Robin, so I may just get the Batman and Mr. Freeze. And that's the thing. I wasn't super keen on the Batman, but it's funny how one figure which comes out that you want makes me personally want to get the companion piece that I wasn't super keen on. So I think that's a very dangerous road to lead to, and I should try to avoid that as possible. So for me, this may be one of those figures that I may end up passing up, not because I don't like it, but because um, for one, it's not something that is very high on my list, and for two, once I decide not to get into a line, I don't want to open up a can of worms where I get one figure, then it ends up being two or three or four or five. Um, as you may be aware, there is a company called Jazz Inc. that are working on a poison ivy. So, like I say, if you decide to get one of those figures from Hot Toys, then you may end up having several figures in the end. So I think this is something to consider. If you get one figure from a line, think about whether that one figure will turn into four or five, because you may feel inclined to collect more in the same line or even complete the line. So spending like 300 US dollars, 350 or even 400, depending on where you're from, could end up, being multiplied by four times that. So do you want to spend over $1,000 US on a few figures of the same line, or are there other potential figures in the future that you were planning to get? And don't let anything that is just announced out the blue change your plans. So this is kind of what has come up in my mind. Like I said, like if I wanted to get anything from Batman and Robin, it would only really be the Mister Freeze and Batman. The Batman is probably the very last thing. But then if you see Jazzing, they show you an amazing Poison Ivy, then you may even be swayed to get that, and even maybe a Batgirl, the Alicia Silverstone. If that comes out from Hot Toys or Jazzing, then you may be tempted to get that. Now, you may approach this differently, and you may just only be able to get the Mr. Freeze, or you may only just want to get the Poison Ivy. And if you can stick to that, then that is amazing, and that is fantastic. You're doing the right thing, you're being disciplined, you're being sensible financially, but a lot of people aren't like that. For example, I was just looking at the Collector Freaks forum, and someone asked if they were getting the Batman and Robin, if they were to collect this. And they said, oh, I'm going to be getting the Batman and Robin, even though to me they are the worst movies. And it's funny how they would consider getting those once they first ordered Mr. Freeze. But this wouldn't have happened if Mr. Freeze came out. So just to reiterate, this can be quite a dangerous approach. And And just to finish off with a last example, um, the Batman Returns 2.0 that Hot Toys announced several months ago. I had intended to collect a Michael Keaton Batman, but I wasn't very keen on the 89 2.0 given the issues with it, and I was likely to get the Returns 2.0, but it wasn't a deal breaker if I passed on it. So I wanted to, pace out my collection, not collect too many. So I held off on the Batman Returns 2.0, but once Jazz Inc. brought out that Catwoman, I felt like I needed to elevate that display. If I have a Catwoman, I would like to have a Batman Returns with it together. I think it would look much better together. So then I ended up pre-ordering the Batman Returns 2.0. In this case, it's slightly different because I actually do want a Michael Keaton Batman of some sort, preferably the 89, but I think the Batman Returns 2.0 will be created better. So this is slightly different, but it highlights the same situation where I ended up getting, where one figure that I pre ordered influenced my decision to get a sort of companion to go with it. So I can bring up many examples. For example, if you get a Han Solo, you may be swayed to have a Chewbacca to go with it, and vice versa, if you didn't really want the other piece. So that's that. So back to this figure. This, just to right off the bat, there are very minimal complaints that I have with this figure. I think this figure is top notch. In person, I think it's like a 9 out of 10. Mr. Freeze. It is hands down the best Arnold Schwarzenegger Mr. Freeze 1/6 figure out in the market. If it uh, if it's like the prototype, if the final product is like the prototype, which it usually is, then this will definitely be the best Arnold Schwarzenegger because there isn't really anything else out there. I mean, there's some third parties who've made Mr. Freeze, but to me, they look pretty garbage, actually, to be honest with you. So, accessory wise, they give you an adequate amount. You get eight pieces of hands. And then you get, his gun. You get those wings. The standard edition is only a little bit cheaper, so for me, it's either deluxe or bust. Now, the what that tells me is the standard edition is not great value. That seems to be a bit more expensive. Like it's less bang for your buck, but the deluxe version only costing a little bit more, it's worth just to get those extras that comes with it. So they've priced it really at a deluxe pricing, and they've just like lowered it a little bit just to disincentivize you from getting the standard version. Loving how you can display the head with multiple options. So the helmet and the goggles, without the goggles, without everything but the sculpt, looks really good. I'd say when I saw this in person, one thing to sway me from getting it even more than I was already I was already unlikely to get it, but I was finding reasons for me not to get it, and one of them was how fragile these kind of loose pieces are. I'm going to go back to some photos and see. So I think the wires in here make it USB powered. That's probably how they're able to get all these lights lit up. And these little kind of like hoses look quite fragile. So you're not really going to be posing this all that much. But my impression of Hot Toys items are they're not very durable. And I can point to many examples of other figures that I have in my collection with parts breaking off. that is a huge deal breaker, actually, for Hot Toys with the amount of money that they cost. Um, Even though they are sort of, figures, action figures, they're not meant to be moved with um, all that much. I don't think it looks that bad here without all the lights, but you're supposed to probably just have this figure standing there, maybe have his arms bent only, not really do much um, articulation with this figure. Um, so the biggest gripes that I would have with the figure is, firstly, I think the price is a bit higher than what I would have expected for this figure. It's probably on the cusp of acceptable for me. I mean, if you love the figure, then it's going to be subjective. So you'll probably have no problem paying even a bit more if you love it. But I like it enough, but I don't love it. At this price, it's not incentivizing me enough to buy it. Um, Considering the figures that I have on pre-order were cheaper, and I felt like they gave you more. But why is it this price? I don't know. They reused the base. Probably, I would say it's because of the USB lighting in everything, in all the suit. Um, Probably the intricate armor. The head sculpt is, just a slight revamp. I don't know where. I really don't know. I think maybe also the Trump tariffs had probably a bit of an impact on this, where they just are now starting to raise prices across the board for all of their figures. But this to me is kind of not in the. It's probably in between fair value and overpriced, and I'll probably put that in slightly overpriced category. Um, I would maybe even way tempted to get it if it was in the lower part of the 2,000 Hong Kong dollar range. The second gripe that I have is the base. And lastly, the most minor gripe I have is with the delicate parts of the suit. But all in all, I think this is a pickup if you are a fan of the Batman and Robin movie, and even if you are getting the Batman and Robin, then this is a no-brainer. You could even get this on its own if you just want this, and that's completely fine. Um, but just be prepared that this line will be expected to have more figures. There's a Poison Ivy on the way, and I would guess the final one would be a Batgirl. We know Poison Ivy's on the way. A Batgirl would just be the icing on the cake, and I think that would be done. Because what else can they give you? I don't think a Bane is going to be there. But this is a good announcement, and that is everything. So please like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching, and leave your thoughts in the comment section. Stay tuned for more content and another reaction video.